Right, welcome to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. This is my review of BBC's Netflix co-production Dracula 2020, featuring the very, very good Claes Bang as Dracula. Now, I'm going to talk non-spoilers first, and then we will get into spoilers. So, there's a few bits and pieces that we need to touch on. Okay, straight from the outset. This is written by Mark Gatiss and Steven Moffat. Now, Steven Moffat is a man that has done an awful lot of stuff across the years. And this is very much Moffat, through and through. So if you don't like Moffat, you won't like this. Absolutely. And it's very much BBC as well. So if you don't like the way that the British broadcaster does stuff, which is the BBC, whatever it stands for, and how they tend to gravitate towards quotas and things like that, and very funny changes to stuff, you won't like this. Okay? Now, just to run down what Moffat is actually known for, so you can kind of get it, get a grip with it anyway. Sherlock, for instance. He's done Doctor Who. A lot of Doctor Who. Jekyll, Coupling, an awful lot of stuff across the years, all very, very textbook. He has a very set in stone way of writing things. Now, as an adaptation of Bram Stoker's Dracula, it is interesting. I wouldn't say it completely fails, but I will say this: it doesn't entirely succeed either. It really doesn't entirely succeed. Now, it's 3 episodes. First 2 episodes are the better 2. The third episode and a bit of the last one. Well, basically, the third episode makes me hate the first 2 episodes. And I'll explain why. So, essentially, this is set in the 1800s, right? It's like the mid 1860 something. Now, that was period correct. Absolutely period correct. And I'm going to talk about something now which is controversial. I will get a bunch of dislikes, but I'm going to stop you. Please don't dislike first. Let's address why it's an issue. And I'll explain why I had such a problem with it. Because we're talking about the diversity which is thrown in the time periods. Because the third episode is a time period of which diversity is absolutely, it's there. So it's not as if it's entirely set in the realms where diversity is not prevalent. So it's a real issue when then retroactively looking back at the first 2 episodes as to why they put the diversity there. Because there's no reason for it. It doesn't serve to better the story. When I see black and Asian nuns, it doesn't better the story in any way, shape or form. And if anything, it genuinely removes me from the story at hand, because it disengages me from the time period. The time period, but also the location. I'm seeing black and Asian nuns in Budapest. I'm sorry, but 1860 something, there would be no black and Asian nuns in Budapest. Absolutely not. And like I said, when the third episode is set in a time period and a location where diversity is, that's representation, it's diverse everywhere, you ask yourself why the BBC chose to put such a diverse cast in the wrong time period, because there's literally no reason for it. And for all those that dislike the video and you're still watching, and for all those that attempted to dislike the video and you're still watching, let's talk about representation and diversity just briefly. It's really important when people now consume this media, right? Because most people are not, they don't do research, they don't do history. They don't have good history lessons. A lot of people will actually be thinking that that's right. They will be actually thinking that that is what happened in the mid, 1860 something. That there were black and Asian nuns. And the problem with that is that you genuinely, for all those that want diversity now and want it represented and things like that, it actually negates the struggle that these people went through to get to where we are. And it also teaches people the wrong lesson. Because that wasn't the case. It wasn't the case at all. And it's good to know that that wasn't the case. because then you can appreciate how far we've come as a society now. So for anyone that disliked the video and you are still watching, that's my reasoning behind it. Not only is it entirely non-correct period-wise, but it also actually removes people from the series, and it also removes people from the fact that we have moved further as a society. And this is what's going to be taught to people now as a result. Because let's face it, people are stupid, and this is how they consume their history lessons in this day and age. Because you're not going to be taught that in Budapest in 1860 there were no black and Asian nuns. You know, in Eastern Europe there's very few black people in Eastern Europe now, for God's sake. So to think that there were people back then is just bonkers. Utterly bonkers. So the mindless swaps of things, when they don't serve the novel, I have real problems with. Because this is an adaptation of Bram Stoker's Dracula. Now, Bram Stoker's Dracula is famous for many, 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 many reasons. It is fantastic. And as an adaptation, I think it doesn't ultimately fail, but it fails on many, many levels. Now, to be really positive about it, Claes Bang, or however you say his name, was a staggeringly good Dracula. He was superb as Count Dracula, but he was in the wrong series, basically, because of all the other things that are thrown in around him do not serve the story in any way, shape or form. And I do feel that he was underused, even though what he was used with on screen was fantastic. I did a video before this came out because Stephen Moffat and Mark Gatiss had came out and said that Dracula was bisexual, basically. And he is. He is in this. In fact, in the second episode, we see that. But it doesn't serve anything. It doesn't serve the story. And it's a real shame, actually. I think it's genuinely a real shame that these little bits and pieces were thrown in for no reason in those first two episodes, just because. It doesn't serve the story, it doesn't better the story in any way. We'll touch on spoilers now. Basically, my overall review is it's not essential viewing. Claes Bang's fantastic. He's very, very good in this. Very, very good, in fact. But if you don't like Moffat, you won't like this, because it's very predictable. It is predictable Moffat. So you won't like this if you like Moffat. So look, we'll talk about spoilers, because there's not really much else I can talk about without getting too heavy into it. Now, it's Bram Stoker's Dracula. There are some... Let's talk about the changes. So the bisexuality of Dracula. It doesn't serve the story, and I do feel genuinely that when we're seeing Dracula fornicate with a man and putting him in like a dreamlike state, and he is doing stuff, like it's out and out stated, did you, because it's a victim of Dracula, did you have sex with Dracula? And you just think to yourself, what? Why? And it's peculiar because there's no women that he has sex with during the entire episodes that are going on. It's only men that he is pictured, whether it be a dreamlike state or actual fornicating with men. There's nothing that he does with ladies like that. He drinks universal blood and things like that, and it's fine, you know, it's all good, like the effects are good and things like this. It all works very, very well. But again, silly changes. So, the second episode, bearing in mind the first episode, we've got gay Dracula, or bisexual Dracula, fornicating with a man being questioned whether he had intercourse with Dracula, and the look on his face as well tells you that they had sex. Bearing in mind, we see it as well. But then the second episode, if that wasn't enough, we get the entire... Again, first episode of Black and Asian nuns, so full diversity quota. And the reason why those things are an issue is because, again, it doesn't serve the story. But when we go to the third episode, we are set in modern day England, and the whole cast is diverse. It's diverse city. So those two episodes at the start did not need to be diverse. Why didn't they need to be diverse? because you fill the quota up at the end. If you're trying desperately to meet a quota, you've got it. You've written yourself into it. There's no requirement to have any of that in the first 2 episodes. Show history as it is. Give people a greater understanding of the actual world. Because little pea-brain mongoloids that are watching this, that don't know anything about the world, that preach and want diversity, will now think that that was the truth. And it's a real shame. You do a disservice to what people have had to go through. And if you think that's an issue, then you're part of the problem, quite frankly. If you think showing the 1860 was not diverse, you are part of the problem. You're mollycoddling these total tits into a society where they can just preach oppression, but they've never even seen it. Anyway, and it's not even oppression. They just weren't around. God damn. Total nonsense. Anyway, second episode, we have a couple we're introduced to in Russia. It's a British man, his wife, newlywed, and his employee, a black man. Now this is important, ladies and gentlemen, because the black man's a little bit sassy. And you think to yourself, why is he a little bit sassy? Oh wait. Oh wait. He's having an affair. It's an interracial secret gay relationship with the white Englishman. Of course it is! Of course it is! It has to be an interracial homosexual affair, doesn't it? Of course it is! Why would it not be? You just think to yourself, right, okay. If the first episode wasn't enough, you know, seeing Dracula bang a dude, the interracial gay affair, that's it, that sealed it. It's just ridiculous changes. And like I say, it is ridiculous because in the third episode, because I understand, I know how these productions take place. They do have to fit a quota. I'm aware. Like, I know. Having spoken to directors, I know. But your third episode has it all. You've got gay people. You've got a female lead. You've got everything you could possibly want. Why did you do it in the first 2? Why? And the problem is it really does remove you from the series. And like I say, right, the series inherently isn't bad. It's a bad adaptation of Bram Stoker's Dracula, because Bram Stoker's Dracula, that's not it. He's not bisexual. He doesn't do these things. And I understand there's an allure to vampirism and things like that. But just some of the silly changes really put me off. And I don't mean put me off as in like, oh, it's disgusting. I'm not a bigot. It removes me from the story at hand. And it really does genuinely remove me from the story at hand. And it's textbook Moffat. Strong, powerful man. Everyone loves him. Strong, powerful woman. Got all the tricks up her sleeve. Can absolutely beat this guy. And somehow is obsessed with him as well. It's textbook Moffat. It's it. It's textbook Moffat, for fuck's sake. Like I say, if you've seen Moffat do anything, you've seen them all. The production values were good up until the end of the second episode. The end of the second episode had very strange green screen. It was very unnecessary green screen. Dracula came out of the ocean. You're in England. You're shooting it in England, for fuck's sake. Go down to a beach. But they didn't. They used green screen. Why? That's just lazy. Netflix, BBC, why? You are in the UK. Just go. And then in the last episode, some very strange things happen. Right? I need to talk about like the concept, I guess, of the last episode. We're talking about there's the lead, the female lead in the last episode, has this thing about her. She's so beautiful, and everyone smiles when she's beautiful. she wasn't beautiful. And I know it's all in the eye of the beholder and things like that, but I did not think she was attractive at all. Very, very standard. Whatever. Like, base standard level of beauty. Someone you'd look at and you go, ah, she's fine. But the fact she's banging on about how attractive she is and how everyone smiles at her and things like this. And I was like, are you trying to tell me that are you trying to force me to think that she's hot? Like, I don't see it. If you're going to do that, at least get someone actually beautiful. She was not beautiful. It was off-putting. She was not off-putting. Being told she was super, super hot became off-putting. And again, really bizarre editing. There's some scenes where they're in like a car and things like that. Very odd editing. Did not like it. Strange. Overall, ladies and gents, you don't need to see this. If you're going to watch it for Claes Bang. Fantastic actor. I'd love to see him in more things. The way he enunciates words, the pronunciation, very, very good. Very good actor. A shame he was not in a better production. The lead female who played Van Helsing. That's the other thing, ladies and gents. This nun, right? I should have said this in non-spoilers. So the nun we're introduced to in the first episode, I was like, awesome. She's fucking epic. What a cool character. And then she's introduced to be Agatha Van Helsing. And I'm just like, And I'll tell you why I went, is because you'd given me a character that I didn't know was any gender swap character. And I really liked her. I thought, fuck me, this is great. But you've done yourself a disservice by just gender swapping it. Because then at that point, I'm like, well, why did you do that? You could have called her anyone. Agatha the White. I wouldn't have given a fuck. I would have thought she was still equally as amazing if she was a nobody. Because you'd written a character that I actually liked. And I believed. But then, you take my excitement from here, because I liked this character, to here. Because then you revealed her to be nobody. And you revealed her to be nobody because she was somebody. Now I think, well, she's a strong character because... Because what? Because she's Van Helsing? She was strong when it was up here, my excitement level, because you'd written someone good. You didn't need to tell me she was Van Helsing. And this is what we talk about when we talk about gender swapped characters. Stop fucking gender swapping characters. Stop it. Fucking stop it. Because you do yourself a disservice. Any woman out there that has watched this and did not groan, absolutely did not groan out the teeth when she was revealed to be Van Helsing, you're an idiot. You are a total idiot. Why are you an idiot? Because you're part of the problem. You're one of these people that preach, you know, genders and females empowerment and all this kind of nonsense. But if you don't groan at the fact that they just gender swapped this character, belittling the character that they wrote, bearing in mind, then you're part of the problem. I stand by that. I don't care if it offends you. Could not give a shit. But she was great. And it was Dolly Wells. She was fantastic. I'd watch her in most things. She was superb. Groaned out the arse when you introduced her as bloody Van Helsing, though. Did not need to be. Just, you wrote a good character. Sassy, likeable, little bit tongue-in-cheek here and there. But overall, very likeable, very believable. And then yeah. Van Helsing. Woo! Like I give a fuck now. You belittle your own writing. Terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible stuff. Anyway. Right. That's it. That's my review. There's nothing else really to say. I think I've covered a lot of stuff here. The production values were fine. Very odd bits and pieces here and there. But overall, very, very good. Can't overly recommend it, though, because of very strange decisions. And overall, I don't think when you get to that last episode, you're going to have enjoyed the first two episodes that much. Because if you'd accepted it, then you get to the third one, you're going to go, oh, why did they do that then? So anyway, that's my review. I hope you enjoyed it. If you are still here, hit like, hit subscribe, stay up to date for more in the world of pop culture and movie news. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. I've been Mr. H. Take care.